Okay, so we're doing a review here on the B5 precision stock. This is on my sort of a DMR, SPR, 3-gunning sort of build over here. I'll do a build review of this later on at some point. But really focusing on the stock during this review, since I haven't seen a lot of reviews out on this thing. It's been kind of bothering me because I couldn't find any reviews when I first got the thing, basically. So these have been out for a while. They're on MidwayUSA and I think VictoryFirst.com if you want to go look them up. I don't know whether you can get them from B5 directly. B5 Systems makes this thing. They're obviously well known for their B5 soap mod variants. I think B5 and LMT are pretty much the main manufacturers of the soap mod stock. I don't have one right now, but I just have their precision stock over here. But the precision stock is basically designed, I think, as a competitor to the Magpul PRS. It's got a lot more adjustability, it's a lot more usable. So, not necessarily more usable, but it's more adjustable than the PRS. It's another option out there if anyone's interested. I think on Midway these sell for $225 MSRP, but if you put in your cart right now, they get it. There's a little bit of a discount. I didn't do it, so I'm not quite sure. But they're a little bit pricey. They're not like a CTR, which will run you like $60. This is a $225 stock. But again, comparable to the Magpul PRS because it's designed for that sort of precision sort of market. So I got the Sling off, so we can go and take a peek at it. This is obviously clear, so I got a Hornady chamber flag loaded in there. So, and I'll just get a Sling off. So I just have a Ranger band going through it right now. So if anyone's sort of concerned about sling staging, it's totally possible with this thing. So I just have it set up so you just pull, and that pops through the other side, like so. Pardon the janky camera rig. And it's just an MS4 just with a ITW 30SR quick release buckle attached to it. Do another video on that at some point. And we'll go and pop out the Sling. This is a Forward Controls ESF, so if anyone is curious about that. So the one really nice thing about the B5 System stock is that there's a little paddle over here that will pull down, and that's your adjustment. Adjust just like a standard buffer tube. Base stock will adjust. It has positions and it does index into those positions, which is awesome. So with the PRS stock, you gotta install like a specific spacer set, and you basically have your one main length of pull set up with the PRS stock, and you just get the butt pad adjuster at the back of this. Whereas with the B5, it starts out with a, over here, about like 9.5 inch length of pull, and then you can extend it all the way out, all the way over here, then you get a 12.5 inch length of pull. That's not including the spacer over here to bring it to like a whopping like 13 inches length of pull, measuring from the back of the receiver, not including the trigger. Obviously, I know the ATF defines it length of pull slightly differently. You can do that sort of measurement yourself if you want to. So that's one major pro of the B5 precision stock, in that you have the actual, this goes on a standard mil-spec buffer tube or an A5 tube if you have that, and it will adjust back and forth. So one thing to note, there are two variants of this. This is the 223 variant, and there's another one that is the 308 variant if you have an AR10. So this goes on the 15 platforms. They have a 308 variant, a bigger variant for the AR10 platform. The reason why that's significant is because the cheek piece will vary between them. I think the 308 one has the cheek piece cut a little bit shorter. That's so that it doesn't run into the charging handle. When on this build right here, if I go and eject that, you can see the bolt lock back, charging handle sits very much forward of the cheek rest and it won't run into it when the stock is in the fully collapsed position. I think on an AR10, since that's a short action receiver, I don't have one myself so I can't verify, I would imagine it sticks out a little bit further, and that's why they cut the cheek piece a little bit shorter on the AR10 variant. So something to sort of keep in mind over here. I'm going to go and replace my chamber flag like so. So this is a Mars receiver, so I have obviously ambi. Again, we'll talk about the build later. So the B5 stock obviously has your adjustable cheek piece over here, and then you have your adjustable rear end like so. if you want fine control over your length of pull. We'll go and pull this off. So the way this works is that there is a lock at the bottom of this thing. So if you pull it back, it's in the unlock position. If you push it forward, it's in the lock position. I don't know really if they call it a lock or not. This thing didn't come with instructions, if I remember correctly, so you kind of have to just intuit that for yourself. But what happens is that in the forward position, when it's locked-ish, it only goes out this far. When you pull it back, you see it extends out further, which will allow you to take it completely off. So again, like if it's forward, I try to take the stock completely off the tube. Like I can't get it over the hump to actually come off the tube. If I pull it back, I get that additional pull, and I can pull it off. So that's all that does. It's just literally a tab that sticks slightly in, basically. I didn't realize that actually came off. That's kind of funny. But obviously it's supposed to capture in there. So it's just got like the little tab over there, so when it comes up, you push this forward, it locks in, that's an over travel stop. It stops from coming out all the way. When you have it pull it back, then you can really pull it all the way down and extract that from the buffer tube. So you can get a ranger band right behind the back of it. It's a little flanged out over here, so it will retain a ranger band, which is nice. I don't know whether that was the intent, but it's nice to have that. It's a QD sling swivel over here. It is of the rotation limited kind. You can see the little dents punched into it. You can get a pen light. So you can see the little dents in there. So it is rotation limited. There's one on both sides, and the wheels are obviously available on both sides as well. The bottom of it has M-lock, so I just have a M-lock mag pole thing on the bottom over here. This one doesn't completely fit, but you see a little bit of a gap there, but it fits well enough. There's two of them, so I think the intent is you could put a monopod or like a folding monopod over here, like the B&T style, and then you can have your bag rider, and then flip it down. You have a monopod as well if you want to like brace that against a bag. I had a Magpul foregrip placed in this slot originally. I took it off because I was trying some other positions, but this is nice to go and stack a bag behind it and just grab it into the bag, so it's super useful for that. And you obviously have your hand grip over here if you want to just snug it up into your shoulder. And what else? The one really interesting thing about this is if you look inside there, you can see a row of little balls on both sides. What those do, if I can do this nicely, I'm not really going to be able to illustrate this well, but you sort of press down. Yeah, the ball, I'm not going to be able to do this, illustrate this nicely by hand. I don't have enough hands to do this. The balls are spring loaded, so what happens is that when they touch the buffer tube, they'll spring down as needed, and they'll basically ensure a really nice lockup with the buffer tube. Like it won't, it'll technically wobble back and forth if you like force it, but it doesn't just like wobble on its own, because the tension from those little spacers are keeping tension on it basically the entire time. The spring behind them is pretty beefy. It's not like a really weak spring by any means, so it really wants to help stop this thing from wobbling around, which is really appreciated in a design like this. The PRS stock obviously avoids that issue completely because they just have that proprietary spacer and it bolts onto I think it bolts onto the end plate, or maybe I'm mistaken on that, but I think they avoid that issue by just bolting directly. This solves that issue using a standard mil-spec buffer tube by having those little balls and a positive pressure system in there. They have a name for it. I think SoftRep had an article. I don't recall exactly what it's called, but it does really help to reduce the amount of wobble inside the system, which is awesome. The butt pad doesn't have any screws on it. I don't think you can replace the butt pad with anything else. This looks almost kind of like a SopMod stock butt pad, but not quite. And there's no real like screw in there to take it off. So I think you are just, I don't think there's any compatibility with any previous butt pads. But it's a good butt pad. It's not super squishy. Kind of just reminds me of a SopMod, to be completely honest. So yeah, overall, I like this thing a lot. I had a CTR stock originally with LaRue riser, and I was gonna get a pod. I was looking at the cost for it, and kind of about the same cost as this thing, to be completely honest. It's not that much of a stretch. It's like $60 more. So I just went with this guy and ended up liking him more. It is decently heavy. It's not as light as a CTR. It will weight rear bias your gun a little bit, which may or may not be what you wanted to do. That was specifically what I wanted to do with this, because it's an H-bar profile barrel. It was actually really heavy towards the front, so this actually played into my advantage, but wanted to keep it in mind. It'll bring the weight further back. And yeah, that is B-Fi Systems not Submod, Precision Stock. So figured I'd get a review out there, because I can't seem to find one. So let me know if you have any questions, and see if I can answer using the model that I have on hand right now.